Microsoft prides itself on providing a very reliable and secure cloud-based platform. And the cloud-based platforms are the direction that most technology companies are moving. That's Microsoft's direction. And they've brought CRM to the forefront, making it an integral part of an extensible business platform. Microsoft aims to meet and kind of exceed any of those business solution needs by committing to that highest level of reliability. And so from a reliability and security perspective, Microsoft offers a 99.9% SLA expectation. So those expectations state that uptime is guaranteed. What they do to incentivize that is if uptime is not met to their expectations, they set the bar pretty high, that credits vary depending on the percentage of downtime. So if the SLA is not met, Microsoft relies on the customers to make sure that they're made aware that downtime was longer than what the customer anticipated. So Microsoft does have that put in place for credits depending on the amount of downtime. Microsoft is always investing in making sure that software as a service capability performs equally across all platforms and all tenants. One thing that Microsoft cited was Forrester found that their security technology automatically remediates 97% of endpoint attacks detected, freeing up teams to resolve the most complicated cases. So it's always better to have that up front rather than to be reactive. Microsoft in this cloud platform is helping us to become more proactive on making sure that they're reliable and secure. They've tried to do it in more of a seamless fashion as well. So those users that have been on the cloud platform for some time may not have even noticed that there are enhanced security features that are implemented through each iteration that Microsoft goes through to improve their processes and their offerings. In terms of how they deliver those, I mean, all of this is integrated across the entire environment. So application security to zero trust to, those different things that offer like integration even between a on-premise infrastructure to the cloud infrastructure, things that just sort of make this work well in a reliability fashion. One of the other areas that Microsoft prides itself on is privacy. Microsoft has a time-tested approach to privacy, grounded in committing to giving you the control over the collection, but at the same time guaranteeing that the privacy of that data is paramount on Microsoft's cloud services. There's been a renewed focus on things such as GDPR. A year or so ago, that GDPR was put in place and provides some regulations around what we can do and what we can't do with client data. So Microsoft has the infrastructure there to provide clients and businesses the ability to make sure that data is secure and private. In terms of what Microsoft offers as far as privacy, their offerings and packaging include documentation on their security development lifecycle, basically how they practice putting security and privacy in place, making sure that all privacy statements are readily available to all cloud users and all cloud consumers. One huge area for Microsoft right now, considering that a lot of the businesses that Microsoft hosts on their cloud platform could potentially end up being very highly regulated. So things such as HIPAA and PCI compliance are very, very important for the platforms to be compliant in. Microsoft does and provides all the tools upfront and necessary tools to be able to allow those clients and consumers to become HIPAA compliant and PCI compliant. So if you wanted to create a healthcare app that maintains medical records, or you needed to store payment information or something along those lines, these systems allow the adaptation for those software platforms to accommodate those. Microsoft also offers audit reports that help to track progress, track changes, track the ability to see what's happened at what time. The one thing that Microsoft stresses, though, is that there's a lot of shared responsibility in terms of what they can offer. They offer the tool sets, and primarily then what happens is if a company or a business is working within a highly regulated industry, there's more to obviously using the system than just inputting data. So what Microsoft offers is they offer shared responsibility in the term that it's not all on Microsoft to make that happen, if you will. The organization's legal team needs to work with whoever's implementing the system to make sure that all design decisions align with the requirements for compliance, such as HIPAA and PCI. So moving on to maintenance and infrastructure cost savings. Moving to a cloud model provides visibility into the hard costs of operating expenses. So you definitely have a more predictable cost over time. The more time that you spend on actually performing business operations instead of spent on maintenance and infrastructure, those things will always save you money in the long term. On-premise setups, they vary widely. So configurations can be anywhere from deploying CRM on physical hardware or VMs. There's always cost associated with that. There's setup and maintenance of the infrastructure needed and requires most organizations to either have that skill set internally or to even outsource that to an IT managed service company. And in terms of eliminating costs associated with like the servers and the infrastructure there, that's where a lot of the maintenance can be offloaded to Microsoft on the cloud. They maintain all of those pieces for you. The business process is more of what the business would be responsible for. In terms of reducing the workload for your IT team, not only does your IT team spend time on the typical maintenance that occurs for servers such as patches and outages and security breaches, those are always a concern. But if one of those events occur on your system, on-premise system, it's most likely down and everyone's fully focusing on fixing that problem. Essentially, all work stops. So we eliminate the issues there by Microsoft mediating the issues up front, providing that 99% uptime without having any additional cost in terms of licensing or update costs and such. If you're basically wondering if Microsoft's cloud is secure, then that's one of the areas to go to is obviously making sure that all users are set and sorry, one second. Right, sorry, so basically what I was getting at is that the impact is negative on the cost. So if you were to eliminate server infrastructure and the maintenance that comes along with those servers and even having users gain access to them, that's where I was going with that before. So users gaining access to the system. If you hire or if you bring in consultants or things that are necessary to maintain or let's say expand on the system or the business operations that you use those systems for, that can be a lengthy process. Many on-prem CRM users still need to even gain access to a VPN to access CRM if the organization's not set up for IFD or internet-facing deployment. We've seen in the past where on-prem solutions can take weeks to set up a new user, whereas with Microsoft's Cloud CRM, you have the option of going in and using the Active Directory that is built into Office 365. And as soon as that user is created and you assign a license to CRM, a CRM license to that user, they're in. They can use it and it's accessible anywhere. These are all blockers to end users utilizing the system to its full potential. So you also use time and resources to help with user adoption. Those are all things that come into play when talking about cost savings, trying to figure out and just to determine the comparison between licensing costs and the amount of time and money spent on resources and support for your on-prem system. Additionally, if you're on the cloud, you have predictable updates. One of the areas that come to mind is updates come to the platform now on a regular basis. Microsoft schedules updates for CRM and publishes that schedule to ensure clients have visibility to it. So they are no longer waiting to make sure that the newest and greatest features and functionality are available out there. You'd automatically get that. Each time one of those updates comes out, there's release documentation that gives you specifically what was released and what's changed. The white papers essentially show us, what kind of changes to expect. And there's also associated documentation that helps us to understand what, on major releases, what functionality has been removed or is set for deprecation. So there's foreknowledge of all those things coming down the pipeline by documenting the release cadence and all of these different things that come with predictable updates and knowing when those will happen. In terms of on-prem systems, if you have an on-prem system and it's out of date, you no longer have to worry about those large, expensive upgrade projects. And falling behind on versions is a key factor to that. So a key to considering staying on a supported version of the system is if you're on-prem, it's easy to fall behind in versions. So your business just keeps going about its daily tasks, its daily operations. And what happens is as the months and years go by, there's obviously more updates that have come out. And Microsoft tries to make sure that people are aware that these updates are available. But it's, again, time and resources to make sure that those updates can be applied to the on-prem setup. On-prem setups then take more time to install it, whereas Microsoft automatically pushes these updates to all of those platforms automatically. And then the difference between your on-prem version when it's trying to decide whether or not what you have right now is even supported, all updates that happen to the Microsoft CRM cloud-based versions are supported. Whereas if you're a couple versions behind, it's going to take time to evaluate if that version is compatible, if that version is upgradable to the next the next latest and greatest version. One of the other disadvantages to having an on-prem system where updates aren't readily done on a regular basis is you're always going to be about a year behind in new features. So compared to online, those features will always be a major version behind. So if we take our October release wave 2 that came out recently, there are some features there that don't exist for the latest release for the on-prem versions. In terms of how everything has progressed and how things have just kind of moved into place, a lot of the factors that go into making things more mainstream for businesses and clients are making sure that it's a modern experience. And that's the next point on our thing here, where we're trying to stress, and Microsoft is working very diligently to make sure that we have an intuitive design to help with user adoption. Things that are easily accessible anytime and anywhere. If you don't have an intuitive design that creates a great user experience, then you're going to have issues with that user adoption. So, and being accessible anywhere, anytime can and obviously have advantages to not necessarily stuck in the office. You don't have to VPN in. You don't necessarily have to have those static points of connection to a database or an on-prem hardware setup. Microsoft is also trying to move into a unified feel across web, across all platforms, whether that's web, Outlook, mobile, or tablet. And all these systems, they're all going to look similar. But the great thing about how Microsoft has designed this UI, the new unified interface, is that it can adapt to either one of those types of screens. They can adapt to your laptop, a large monitor, a phone, and a tablet. What also comes with that is the ability to stretch that capability even farther and include offline capabilities. So with our mobile app and with the way that you can interact with that data offline, you can be disconnected, and as soon as you're reconnected, that information syncs back up to the server, and the cloud-based portion of the software takes care of resyncing that and gives you all of that capability up front. You're always going to get, again, like I stated before, there's always the new features and new functionality that come with a larger setup or a newer setup, excuse me, for cloud. And when those come down the pipe, people get to use those, people get to see those, and knowledge of that proliferates, and we have a lot of user adoption in terms of new user functionality, being able to find ways to improve that user experience, make it more efficient, make it easier to use and easier to consume the data and the business process that we're exposing through that UI. Some of the features that have recently come out for some of the newest cloud versions of CRM, most of this is included in the unified interface, and it involves reduction of white space. We've got improvement in the form layout and lookup field behavior. Microsoft has developed and integrated a new business card scanner. There are significant enhancements to our quick create forms. We've got a simplified lead management process. Microsoft originally removed it and has brought it back to everybody's surprise and delight. The opportunity close dialog box is now available again and able to make that process a little bit more seamless. There's contextual email communication, timeline usability and improvements. Got a couple examples here. The first one on this slide is an improved interactive record hierarchy. This one allows you to, you can click and drag and reassociate and make changes on the fly, and you can actually see exactly what you want to see on these cards. You can customize the amount of information that's on those cards, and it's highly interactive in that way. And some of these things are obviously available only through the unified interface. This is oops. Sorry, 1 second. Clicked too many times. So this is a good example of what one of the points that on the previous slide where we made is a reduction in white space, an improvement in form layout and lookup behavior. If you remember on some of the older versions of CRM, a lot of the space was, a lot of the information was spread out. It wasn't really logically segmented into different areas. And some of these things that you see on this screen in the unified interface give better definition, better use of that white space to fill in the blanks essentially, and give us a better feel and a better look to and behavior for that user interface. We also have an improvement in the interactive dashboards. So these are just two examples where we have charts and we have a more complex setup between data and how to interact with it, how to represent that data, and just being able to find different ways to lay that out and perform the interaction between those areas has improved substantially. As far as integrations and being able to create a seamless business solution. While most integrations are available for on-prem, the setup is much easier when you're on online CRM, when you're using online CRM. It's going to save your IT time, a lot of time, when your IT team a lot of time when you're on Office 365 and D365. The capabilities help to more easily bridge the gap and unify the data that's consumed by what was previously viewed as individual systems. So those individual systems that people use or businesses use in conjunction with their workflows and the way that they process data and consume it, the integrated business operations and business insights for Microsoft's cloud platform basically provide that option to realign how we all look at the overall business solution from beginning to end. It's not just CRM, it's not just finance and operations. These are platforms that are tied together using built-in integrations or at least the ability to seamlessly integrate, and it helps that process and makes it easier and saves a lot of time because it's more efficient to do it that way. A few examples of areas that we can that we've integrated with in the past are finance and operations, Microsoft Talent. We have obvious integrations between Office 365 where we use Outlook, Teams, OneNote, and Excel. One of the bigger areas that's coming out of some of our sessions is Power BI. We're starting to see a lot of Power BI reports that are now embedded in things like dashboards inside CRM. We have the ability to link to those and be able to embed those in different platforms that create a bit more of a seamless data representation. We also have the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. The Sales Navigator gives us a view into LinkedIn profiles that fit criteria for certain areas within CRM. And again, another area that's been more popular of late is Power Platform. That is the direction that Microsoft's going. Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, or what we would call Flow in this particular case. This is all part of automation, all part of integrating and making sure that data can be consumed by any of these platform pieces and be utilized in the way that it needs to be, who it needs to be utilized by as well. So, and with concepts like the Common Data Service, Microsoft, again, allows us to tie all these together. Common Data Service is probably a topic for another time, but at the same point, that's the underlying area that allows us to see and feel how these different platforms or these different core pieces talk with one another. And we move into areas of the platform that help with business insights. AI and machine learning, we gain a deeper understanding of our customers and the organization by unifying relationships, processes, and data across all these applications. They can help to analyze data points and make each of those more relevant and responsive with, again, the proactive data-driven insights that we need to make sure that we're interacting with our customers in the right way. So those are the areas that are influential in making that decision to go from CRM on-premise to CRM online. And just wanted to open it up for questions, or did any questions come in at this point, Sabrina?
Hey, thanks so much, Michael. We did have one question come in, and as I read through this, if you think of any questions, feel free to type those in the questions pane, and we're happy to answer that. The first question, just based on your personal opinion, what do you think the main reason is that people should move from CRM on-prem to the cloud?
It's a great question. In my personal technical opinion, I've worked with the platform for quite some time. I look at my previous experience with the on-prem versions of CRM, And I know from firsthand experience that there's a lot of headache that comes with maintaining and being able to always access things in an environment and in a society where we're all everywhere. We all need to be connected at anywhere at any time. So from my perspective, and there are probably a lot of other people that would say the same in especially in terms of a technical perspective, where people have to log in and use these and even configure them and make the changes that are needed to be made to accommodate a business process, is the fact that you can access this anywhere. Anywhere that you have an internet connection, you can log in, do your work, make some changes, do administration, anything that's needed to be done in that software. You don't have to log into a server. It's and you don't. Hopefully that makes sense. But again, it's more about being able to access that system without having to go jump through a bunch of hoops to make sure that everything's set up properly. I've been in a situation where we were traveling for a seminar, and next thing you know, there was a production issue that kept us from solving it until we were back on site. That was 2 days worth of downtime. If I had had CRM Online, I would have been able to log in directly and try to help troubleshoot and fix those issues without thinking twice about it. So personally, it's accessibility. That's one of the main reasons that I would potentially move online.